Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Before we dive into this week's report, I want to give a huge shout out to Ned Maps for sponsoring this week's fishing report. Ned Maps is a free online tool to help you explore lakes across Minnesota and gives you advice on how to fish them. You can search lakes by using the map or filtering by species, or searching for lakes in your area. Each lake comes with a letter grade and a summary for each species according to the DNR surveys. Once you've found a lake, you can go to spot recommendations and it will suggest spots to fish for different species based on time of year, time of day, weather, and so on. Each spot will have a description on why that is a good area to fish, along with bait and lure recommendations. So if you could, go over to nedmaps.com and give them a look. But with that being said, let's dive into this week's fishing report. All right, this week we're going to start up on Leech Lake. The walleye bite has gotten a little bit better with some of the cooler temps we've been having, and I do suspect that it's going to continue to get better now throughout the remainder of the fall. Now, as far as walleye fishing goes, there's two spots you can find those walleyes. Main Lake Flats with chara grass in that 12 to 18 foot of water is really good for pulling crankbaits in the evening. Hottentots have been working really well, especially the smaller ones. And then the second spot you can find those walleyes are on the weed edges in that 8 to 13 foot of water. And those fish are preferring a jig and a crawler. Now, you can also pitch a jig and a crawler out on those deeper Main Lake Flats as well, but in the evening I would definitely be pulling some crankbaits. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, really out there you can catch them in 6 to 22 foot of water. Rock flats are the deal. You got to be on some rocks out there. Pitching a Ned rig, a drop shot, or a tube jig is working very well for smallmouth bass out there. However, there is a college tournament out there right now, so if you're going to fish it, it might be a little bit crowded and those fish might be pressured as of this tournament. Now, as far as the muskie bite goes, shallow rocks, that is getting more and more muskies on them as the days go on. Pitching jerk baits and small rubber baits seems to be working best right now, and they are catching some absolute monster muskies out on Leech Lake. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, anywhere from 6 to 12 foot of water, if you can find cabbage, that is working best. Otherwise, milfoil will work as well. Pitching a small jig in a crawler or a fathead is working really well. Pitching a jig in a crawler or a slip bobber with a chunk of a crawler is working really well for bluegills. And then for crappies, a 1/8 or 1/16 ounce jig with a crappie minnow or a fathead is working best for those. Now, unfortunately, Parker from Davis's Guide Service, he wrapped up his guide season for this year. He's going back to teaching, but his books are already open for next spring. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake next year, go ahead and give Parker a call and get something on the books right away. But if you're looking for a place to stay up on Leech Lake, we're partnered up with Kyle from Acorn Resort. He does have cabins available, campsites. He has a full bar and restaurant, indoor swimming pool, tons of lake activities for the kids and activities for the adults up in the bar, along with rental boats and live bait. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Resort. All right, now moving over to Lake Winnie. The walleye bite on Winnie has been really good as of late, pulling spinners in anywhere from 8 to 13 foot of water with a fathead or a crawler is working very well. And then during midday, sliding out just a little bit deeper in that 12 to 18 foot of water is producing some nice fish as well. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, The perch have been very hard to find out there, so I don't have much information on those, but the panfish bite over in Cutfoot is still going on, anywhere from 8 to 12 foot of water on the weed edges for big bluegills, throwing a slip bobber with a small panfish leech or a chunk of a crawler, or you can throw some smaller jigs as well, and you're going to catch some really nice bluegill. Now, as far as northern pike go, 6 to 9 foot of water up in the weeds, pulling plugs or spoons is working well for them, and they are catching a ton of pike. Now, as far as muskies go, Tamarack Point, Tamarack Bar, or the rocks on the north end have been producing some really nice muskies. Pitching bucktails, black or gold, seem to be working really well. So if you want to target some muskies, those are some great areas to start. Now, if you're looking to hire a guide up on Lake Winnie, we highly recommend Scott from zupsguideservice. He is the premier walleye guide up in that area. Whether you want to fish on Winnie or one of the smaller surrounding lakes, Scott is your guy for the job. Also want to remind you, Scott will be running 5 sleeper houses out on Lake Winnie this winter. So if you guys want to snag up some of the prime dates, now is the time to start calling and get those secured. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie with a guide, go ahead and call Scott from zupsguideservice. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay up on Lake Winnie, Chad at the Pines Resort, he does have some cabins available. He has campsites, full bar and restaurant, rental boats, fish cleaning shack, live bait, the whole works. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. Now, a little bit of a bonus report for you guys. Cass Lake, the perch bite on Cass has really started to pick up. Anywhere from 8 to 12 foot of water on shoreline points on the bottom edges of them. Pitching a small 1/16 or 1/8 ounce jig tipped with a fathead is working very well, and they are getting some really nice perch and some walleyes mixed in with those. But with that being said, let's move down to Mille Lacs Lake. The walleye bite on Mille Lacs Lake remains very strong, still getting the majority of those fish out on the mud flats in anywhere from 22 to 34 foot of water. I wouldn't really recommend fishing much deeper than that 28, 29 foot of water because those fish will suffer barrow trauma, but there are fish out in that deeper water. Now, the best ways to catch those walleyes, like usual, guys, out on Mille Lacs Lake, a slip bobber and a leech is working best. Leeches can be hard to find, so if you're planning on going up there, call around to the local bait shops, find out who has them, because that is the key to catching those walleyes right now. Now, you can also catch those walleyes pulling crankbaits on lead core out there. They're having some really good success, especially earlier in the morning and later in the evening. And with the colder temps we're having at night, the water temps are starting to cool, and you're going to see more and more of those walleyes migrating back in towards shore, setting up on some of those shallower rock structures. So make sure you're checking those on your way out to the mud. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, the perch seem to be hanging in that 20 to 25 foot of water out on the mud. You do gotta search around. If you're finding little perch, move, because the big ones are not hanging out with the small ones. Getting those on a small jig with a small leech or a slip bobber and a leech will work as well. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, the bass are biting pretty good right now, finding those in anywhere from 8 to 26 foot of water. Rocks are the key. Rock reefs or secluded boulders are holding tons of fish. Ned rig or a drop shot or a tube will work out there for those smallmouth bass, and they are getting some absolute giants. Now, as far as pike fishing goes, highly recommend fishing the bays for those. Doesn't really seem to matter which bay, but if you can get on a weed line in that 8 to 14 foot of water, pulling big spinner baits, spoons, or crankbaits will work for those, and they're getting some absolute hog pike out on Mille Lacs Lake. Now, if you're looking to hire a guide up on Mille Lacs or the surrounding areas, we're partnered up with Joe from Keeper's Guide Service. He's absolutely been crushing the fish lately. So if you want to get out on Mille Lacs Lake or one of the smaller surrounding lakes, go ahead and call Joe from Keeper's Guide Service. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Once again, want to give a huge shout out to Ned Maps for sponsoring today's video. Go over to nedmaps.com, check them out, give it a try. I've used it a couple times and have been very impressed with the results. But if you guys make it out fishing, remember, take some pictures, send them to us on Messenger or to our Gmail, and we will do our best to feature you in next week's fishing report. Remember, be nice at the boat ramp, don't crowd your neighbor, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.